Kampala's colonial past makes way for a brighter future. A landmark victory for Ugandan identity. For 5 long years, a quiet revolution brewed in the heart of Kampala, a simmering discontent with a legacy etched in stone and street names. The lingering presence of British colonialists in the city's very fabric. This simmering discontent finally erupted into a resounding victory last week, as a landmark High Court ruling paved the way for a significant cultural reclamation project. The court, in a decisive judgment delivered by Justice Musa S. Sekana, ordered the removal of names honoring controversial British colonial figures from streets, monuments, and landmarks across the Ugandan capital. This wasn't just a symbolic gesture. It was the culmination of a sustained and determined campaign fueled by a passionate desire to reclaim Uganda's narrative and honor its own rich history and cultural heritage. The ruling marks a powerful statement, signifying a shift away from a colonial past that inflicted immense suffering and towards a future that celebrates Ugandan identity and self-determination. The decision directly targets individuals whose legacies are inextricably linked to oppression and exploitation. Figures like Maj Gen Henry Edward Colville, an early commissioner of the Uganda Protectorate, and Frederick Lugard, a notorious colonial official known for his brutality and ruthless policies across Africa, will no longer lend their names to Kampala's streets and public spaces. Their names, once etched in stone as symbols of power and dominance, are now slated for removal, a stark visual representation of a nation actively confronting its colonial past. This legal victory was far from accidental. It was the product of tireless activism, fueled by the unwavering commitment of individuals who dared to challenge the status quo and demand a more accurate reflection of Uganda's history. The spark that ignited this flame was a petition signed by over 5,800 people in 2020, a powerful demonstration of public support for the decolonization and renaming of streets and statues that glorified colonial figures. This groundswell of support laid the groundwork for legal action. In 2023, the petition's momentum solidified into concrete action when human rights activist John S. Sempebwa filed a lawsuit in Kampala High Court. His legal challenge argued that the retention of these colonial names constituted a violation of Ugandans' fundamental rights, including the right to dignity and freedom from cruel treatment. The lawsuit powerfully articulated the enduring psychological impact of colonial rule, highlighting how the continued presence of these names served as a daily reminder of a painful and oppressive past. It wasn't simply about changing names. It was about healing a nation's wounds and fostering a sense of national pride rooted in truth and reconciliation. Justice S. Sekana's ruling recognized the profound significance of this argument, underscoring the court's commitment to justice and social healing. The decision reverberates far beyond Kampala's city limits, offering hope and inspiration to other post-colonial nations grappling with similar legacies. It signals a shift away from passive acceptance of a colonial narrative and towards a proactive embrace of a national identity defined by its own culture, values, and heroes. The streets and parks once named after British colonial figures will now bear names that authentically reflect Ugandan culture and history. This is not merely a renaming exercise. It is a deliberate act of cultural reclamation, a conscious effort to replace symbols of oppression with symbols of pride and self-determination. The process of selecting new names will undoubtedly be a collaborative endeavor, involving historians, community leaders, and the broader Ugandan public. This ensures that the new names chosen will accurately reflect the diverse tapestry of Ugandan culture and history, providing a far more inclusive and representative narrative for future generations. This landmark ruling represents a triumph not only for Uganda, but also for the global movement towards decolonization. It serves as a powerful example of how legal action, coupled with unwavering grassroots activism, can challenge oppressive legacies and pave the way for a more just and equitable future. The removal of these colonial names is a tangible step towards a more authentic and representative national identity, one that celebrates Uganda's rich history and culture, and empowers its people to shape their future free from the shackles of a colonial past. The silenced voices of the past are finally being heard, their stories ready to be told, and their heritage celebrated in the streets of a newly empowered Kampala.